Welcome, Miss Tina. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Yeah.
Thank you though for just being open to meet with me today and share a little bit of your story. And again, just whatever you want to share is going to be perfectly okay. In case I
Okay.
want you to know that. All right, this is going to be showed to a lot of widows around the globe, and so I just want you to know that it's such an honor just to hear your story and to know just how far you've come, right, since you've become a widow. And I know it's not an easy story to tell, and so if you need to take a break, take a deep breath, whatever you need to do, just know that all of it is perfectly okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, so why don't you go ahead and tell everybody, first of all, your name and how long have you been widowed?
Okay. My name is Tina Manglonia. I do live in Guam, and I've been a widow for almost 3 years. August of this year will make it 3 complete years. Um, I lost my husband back in 2023, 14 days after we celebrated our 30th anniversary.
30 years. Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, that's
Yes.
incredible. Um, can you tell us a little bit about you and your husband, Frank, right? I love
Right.
that. I love that our husbands have the same name, and it's just so
Yeah.
it was such a unique journey when you and I connected. It's like, what, your husband
Yes.
is Frank? Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and Frank, and what did your love look like back then?
Well, first of all, our marriage was not perfect, but it's as perfect as it can be in my eyes, in our eyes. Um, we met at a place where we both worked and you know, dated for a few months. He proposed, got married 3 months later after he proposed. Um, you know, it our life was we were always together, especially among our friends, especially the friends that we built together. You never saw, I mean, you rarely saw one without the other. Um, and uh, so when he first passed, I didn't know how to be around people without him, and um, but I've shared before with our group that, he practically did everything for me. Um, Everything, the cooking, most of the cleaning. Um, if we were going somewhere together, he was the driver. The extent of me driving was just from home to work and back. Um, he was the one that cooked everything. So when he passed, I was like, how am I going to eat now? You know, I was like, who's going to feed me now? I mean, after the shock wore off, it's like, oh my goodness, how am I going to survive? And that's really what it was, is that, he became my best friend. He was the only one, you know, he was the one that saw the good, the bad, the ugly, the weak, the strong in me. And I was free to show him everything and share everything that was going on with me, because I knew that no matter what, he wouldn't judge me. You know, if if I was struggling with something, or I couldn't make a decision, I knew that I just had to pick up the phone or wait till I get home to talk to him. We'll talk things out. And, if it's a difficult decision, he would always say, we'll figure it out together. And, um, you know, when he passed, I was like in total shock, because we had all these plans. I finally convinced him that, that's that the following year in 2024, we're going to do a summer vacation together the way I had always wanted and, go visit family, go to his nephew's wedding. And, we had all these plans. And so I didn't know, that all fell apart when he passed. And, like I said, it's, we were always together. He was always taking care of me. Preparation for storm and everything. He did everything.
Yeah. Sounded like
Yeah.
he treated you like a queen.
Yeah. And I mean, he did. I used to joke around with him because, he used to say early on in our marriage was that, oh, you want me to be like your dad, but I'm not going to be your dad. I'm not your dad and everything. I'm not going to treat you how your dad treated you and all that stuff. And so like later on in our marriage, when things started changing with us, I would joke around with him. I said, you treat me like my dad. You take care of me like my dad, and you truly are like my dad. I was like his focus, like whatever I came first,
Yeah.
you know. Um, Sometimes, I know some people didn't see that, but I really truly believe that, and saw and also felt that I was his priority.
That's beautiful.
Uh, yeah, so um and since he passed, it's been like trying to figure things out, now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so and just talking about that season of your life now, so after you lost him, I mean, he did so much for you, made you his priority. So can you tell us a little bit about how life was like after you lost him, especially in those quiet moments?
Would I repeat? You kind of broke up for a little bit.
So, um, after you lost him, right? Because you were
Yeah.
talking about how he did everything for you. So, can you tell us a little bit about what life has been like for you since you lost him, especially in those quiet moments?
Um, well, in the beginning, those moments were really difficult. Quiet. I'm by myself. We have one son who lives in Georgia. So it's just me and my two little fur babies, and I hated being here at home. I hated, I dreaded leaving work, coming home, you know. Um, I just really hated it. And um, so I would spend a lot of times, if I'm here, here at home, I would spend a lot of times just kind of like crying, trying to figure out, hey, what do I do with myself now? Um, I had, I had several hobbies. I used to do paper crafting, used to bake, I used to sew, I used to go bingo, but all those stopped when he died, and couldn't bring myself to continue them up to this day. It's really hard for me to, like, I just haven't had the motivation to do any of those things to keep me busy. And so like in the first year, I would like in the beginning, I would like go spend time, like if my boo was on island, we'd try and spend time together. Um, Couple times I would go to his house and just like be with his mom. Um, I go to my parents, but it always comes back to I have to go home, you know, and go home to an empty house. Um, a few months after he passed, I moved out of the place where we stayed for 10 years, and I moved into the home I'm in now. And, you know, in my head, I was thinking I'm going to be in a totally different environment, a place that we've never lived before, shared together. So it shouldn't be that bad, but really, it was the same as if I was still at that house that I was staying in for 10 years with him
Yeah.
because it was still coming home to nobody,
Yeah. To an empty
you
house.
know.
Yeah. What were you telling yourself back then, about your future? Like you just had such a hard time with doing anything that you used to love to do. So was there anything that you said to yourself, about your future or even about you as a person? Like what were some of the things that you would say to yourself after Frank died?
Um, well, not really say to myself, but ask myself, what now?
Mm,
Where do I go from here? How can I move on? Continue my life um the way he would want me to. Um, I did a lot of that's what I was asking myself mostly is what am I gonna do now? You know, um, our lives were revolved so much around each other, you know. Um, and like I said earlier, it's where you see him, you see me, and it's the same thing around. And so, I was really lost, like, where do I move? Where can where do I go from here? And I would say to myself that, gosh, I was prepared to grow old with him. I was prepared for us to finish working our years with the government and retire, and just relax. But the one thing I wasn't prepared for was living the rest of my life without him. And I was really lost. I really didn't know what what to do. I was stuck, you know.
well, what would you say is the hardest part of having to do things without Frank? What would you say is the hardest part of that?
Um, Especially like if I'm gonna go somewhere where we're gonna meet, the friends that we share. Um, because that's where, or like even go to a family event, you know. Um, I really have to psych myself up starting the day before and give myself a pep talk like you have to go, you're gonna walk in by yourself. Um, you just have to be brave and everything. And I'll admit there was a few times that I couldn't do it, especially if I was gonna go meet friends and it's I'll head to wherever and then I'll just get back to my car and I'll just sit there, and give myself another pep talk and everything and try and encourage myself. So in the beginning, I came up with, I'll pretend I'm on the phone with someone as I'm walking in, you know, I just talk to myself on the phone
That's a great trick.
just to make it to where I need to go, especially if I'm meeting somebody at a restaurant or something. And I'm like, okay, let me just pretend I'm on the phone while I'm walking, or I'm texting and I'm giggling with somebody that I'm texting, but I'm really not texting anybody. Um, because I felt awkward, like, you know, I never really experienced going somewhere and walking in alone,
Yeah.
you know. And then of course, at the end, sometimes I have to walk out by myself. But, I don't know. Sometimes I would just talk to him and just say, please give me the strength. Just let me get there. Let me have fun, and all that stuff. Let me enjoy myself and things like that. But yeah, that was one of the hardest things I struggle with. And every now and then I'll struggle to this day, but I know it's getting better.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were some of the realizations that you started to come up with that you knew that something just had to change in your life, like over the last couple years? I mean, because that's how you and I met, right? I mean, there was
Right.
obviously a moment or a realization that you were like, I need help or I need support. Like, what was it? Or what were the things that came up for you that you were like, I can't do this by myself, or something needs to shift and change in my life?
Um, well, first we had the 5 day
Mhm.
um sessions, and I really saw how much that helped me because, you know, you knew. I really saw and I felt in my heart that this is someone that knows what I'm going through because you've done this walk yourself. And even after the 5 days that, tried to do it on my own, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm good and everything. But I just got tired of being stuck. I got tired of feeling like feeling guilty that my life is going on and his is not. Um, feel guilty if I'm having fun with my girlfriends, laughing and everything, and he's not here, you know? And I always try and tell myself that even if he was here, all the things I've done, he wouldn't have a problem with it. He would be encouraging, but the guilt, the guilt was there. And, at the end of every dinner with the girls or hanging out with my Melly and Purry or even spending time with my Boo's family or even my family, those moments I enjoy myself, but at the end, like I'm heading home, um, I'll start crying because he's not here to share it with me. Um, I'll feel bad that I enjoyed myself, and why am I enjoying myself when he's not here?
Mm. Yeah,
Um, so I really got tired of being stuck in those moments.
yeah,
Um, I got tired of feeling like my life my life is not going anywhere. I'm not I felt like it wasn't getting any better. I mean, there's so many days that I didn't care to go to work, you
mm,
know. Uh, I used to have very good attendance at work, and give it more than 100%. And the first maybe year and a half, maybe even two, is I was stuck. I couldn't find the zeal to continue what I used to do. Um, and I really felt that I died along with him. You know, the teen I was when he was alive was gone.
yeah, yeah. And so that who am I now
Yeah,
question was continuing to keep coming up, right? And
yeah,
so, after you did the 5 days with me, and then like you said, you're like, okay, I think I can do this on my own. And then,
yeah,
you did. And you know what? And it's okay, sis, because honestly, like your story is a lot of widows can relate, like even myself, right? I always thought that I could figure things out on my own as well until we couldn't, right? And so then, you and I, we stayed in touch, and then you finally, said, you know what, Dar, what do you got? Like
yeah.
how can I join your community of widows? And so then you joined us, right? You joined us. And so can you tell the women that are listening to this episode, what was different in this space for you that actually helped you to start seeing some shifts in your life?
Well, first of all, I think this was the best decision I've made since he's gone. You know, um, I definitely have no regrets. Finally committed to the program. And, I'll be honest, in the beginning, remember I wasn't coming on the calls.
Mhm.
I was only doing our one-to-one, and my excuse was always, I can't wake up. Saturday's my days to sleep in, but after being with the program and really thinking about it, I think what it really was I was afraid to commit to that because I was afraid that they wouldn't get me, the other ladies wouldn't get me, that would it really be a safe space? And when I finally joined the call for the very first time, I realized that this is the group of ladies that get me, that know every tear that has fallen, every broken heart, every emotion that I've gone to. These are the group of ladies that I know will hold that space. Not that any of my other close friends or my Melly and Prairie or my family won't hold space for me, but they don't know how I feel without my husband. And because they're not widows, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Exactly.
Um, my dad's still alive, so my mom doesn't know
Yeah.
the pain that I go through every day. Um, and so um being with with the widow sisters in this community, I really see how much I've shifted in how I carry myself, how, the changes in my life, at least emotionally. And, you know, um, I understand now that, I'm going to have these moments where I don't have it all together, but I know that I can easily just let the group know, and it's really helped me with the group that even if I'm having a really low day, there's that space I can let it out, space I can share it, and without, feeling that I'm being judged. Not that anyone's judged me from you know, my outside life away from the widows,
Yep.
because I don't think anybody's judged me, but I get a lot into my head
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes.
We all do.
You,
We all
yeah,
do.
and so being in this community, you know, I get the ladies encourage me a lot, Um, even sometimes I'm thinking, I don't want anyone's 2 cents, but when I get their 2 cents, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad they decided to speak up, you know, because there are
Well,
moments that I just want to be quiet. You've even said you're kind of quiet today.
yeah. Oh,
You
well,
know
we
what I'm,
do. We right. We
yeah,
noticed that, and so I want to come back to what you said a little while ago, where you said I wasn't coming on the group calls. Remember, Dar? And I would tell myself, oh, I didn't wake up, right, or it was too
yeah,
early. And, and I wanted to come back to that because it's interesting because once you started to come to the calls and you started to feel now that this is the right community for you, T, you were showing up consistently all the time, no
yes.
matter if you didn't feel good. And especially in those moments when you didn't feel good, you made sure that you showed up. And so, I wanted to just kind of highlight that, right? Because it's like, what was that shift for you? Like from first telling yourself, oh, it's too early, oh, my alarm didn't go off, I didn't wake up, to I have to show up, even if I don't feel good. Like, what was that shift for you? What changed?
Because it was actually the group. Um, these group calls, I really see how important because remember, not too long ago, I wasn't showing up either.
Yeah,
I stopped
yeah,
showing up, and then all of a sudden, my emotions went all over the place, and I started feeling all these aches and pains all over. And it's just that, you know, even it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but I can come, I really feel, I've experienced for myself that I can come in so low and the hour or more than an hour that we're together, I end up feeling a whole lot better. These group calls really lift me up,
beautiful.
and and um even if I get, I start getting an emotional on the calls, and that's my biggest embarrassment when, going through my grief journey is that how much I still cry, especially when I share. Um and you know, it even with our group calls, I just let the tears flow. And sometimes that's just
What you
what I
need.
need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just what you need. Exactly.
And, there is a difference of being home and just letting the tears flow on my own versus doing it with the ladies in our community.
Yeah.
There's a very big difference because here, if I'm doing it on my own, if I'm having an emotional day and I'm letting the tears fall and I'm by myself, I don't get that comfort. You know, um, I don't get that hug. Frank's not here to hug me. And with our calls, even though we're doing it virtually, I feel the hug of the
Yeah.
ladies.
Oh,
Even though they don't say hugs to you and everything, I literally feel the love and the compassion that they give me, you know, when I'm just letting it fall. Um, and that's truly why I really feel that it's important for me that I show up for myself because, you know, otherwise, um, I probably wouldn't know, I probably wouldn't experience any shift and change in me, you
yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
I never realized the shift that has happened to me until the ladies started pointing it out to me, and I'm like, oh
Well,
yeah,
and
you're
I was
right.
just, yeah, I was just gonna say that. Like, you said that you come to these calls and and the ladies inspire you, right? But
Yeah.
I don't think you realize just how much you inspire all of us, because your vulnerability is courage. Your vulnerability and showing up and just like you said, allowing the tears to fall, it really does give every other woman on that call permission to also be vulnerable and show her feelings, right? And so you came into our community so raw and tender in your journey. But in those moments, you remind all of us that come to the calls just how important it is for us to show up that way as well, right? And then you said something else. You said, I know that I need to show up for myself, right? And I always say that to you guys, right? Like, please
Yes.
don't come to these calls for Dar. You're coming to these calls for yourself, and so thank you for showing up for you, right? And
Right.
I love how you said that, because so many women out there have such a hard time showing up for themselves because as women, we're so used to putting others before ourselves, right?
Yes.
Putting others before ourselves. And we still can do that. But
Yeah.
now we realize, especially as a widow, when we don't have our partner that's going to be there to, like you said, give me that hug or be there for me, be that support when I need it. I need to now be that for myself in these moments so that I can still show up for the ones that I love. Right.
Hmm.
And so that's so powerful. That's so powerful, T. And so, if you were to talk to the version of you when you first became a widow, if you could talk to that version of you back then, what will you say to her now?
Oh, that's easy because I told my friend it once that lost her husband like a year after me. Um, I think what I would say to myself is, I can't promise you you're going to heal, but I can promise you you're going to be okay.
Mm,
Or, also that, can't promise it's going to be easy because it's not,
yeah,
but you're going to be okay.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And if you were to say it to another widow, right? Another widow that's listening right now who is just as stuck as you once were, right? What would you want her to know or to hear from you?
Um, First, we can't go through this grief alone. I know like in our culture, it's not really talked about, you
Mm,
know. Um, we're taught to be strong and but for me personally, I can't be strong by myself. I need um I need my tribe to move along this journey of life, of grief and um because we're really not meant to do this by ourselves. I truly see that we're not meant. And like you said, so you always say give grief a voice,
mm,
you know. And if it wasn't for this community, I think I'll still be stuck.
mm,
I'd still be trying to figure out what is next for me. How do I continue to get up every morning and move through life without Frank, you know?
mm. Yeah, wow, that's beautiful. And so where you're at now, T, like it's going to be 3 years, right?
Yes.
Since Frank died. Um, what what are you most proud of about yourself, since you became a widow?
Um, One of the things I'm proud of, I mean, I'm not totally there yet, but I can see myself becoming independent, doing things for myself that I thought I could never do, you know, like the storm that we just went through.
Yeah.
I, I shared with you ladies that I woke up with anxiety, like how the heck am I going to prepare for this storm, you know? And thank goodness for our call that said, what can we control? And, you know, um, I see that that's where that's where I'm most proud is that I'm starting to figure things out for myself, you know? And I still think, what would Frank do or say if he was still here with me, you know? And of course, his thing is, you got this, you can do this, and all that stuff. And I'm starting to see that, you know, I'm really a strong person and, I'm capable of doing things that I didn't think I could have done, you know? And, um, so that's one thing I'm proud of myself is that I'm starting to see that I'm becoming more independent. And, I still have a lot of work to do, um, but I'm not so afraid anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm not, I'm not afraid of what tomorrow is going to do, what tomorrow is going to bring or how I'm going to handle certain situations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Definitely see a different version of you from when you first joined us. And honestly, T, I think you came into the group, it hasn't even been a year yet.
Yeah.
You came into the group late last year.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, right? Was it like
Yeah.
around August, September, or something like that?
Yeah, it was after
It
the
was after
live
we came back
retreat.
from the live retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
when I
so
started with the group.
right.
Yes.
So okay, so after this, yes, late summer.
And then Inner Circle was after the first virtual retreat we had.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, yes. Well, I just want to say that it's been such an honor, first of all, to walk this journey with you. You've been such an inspiration and a light to all of us, and really just ignited like this new energy within the group, just by the way you show up for yourself. And I just want to say thank you for doing that because as you continue to show up for Teena, you are encouraging every single woman in our community to show up for themselves as well, including me, right? Including me. So I wanted to say thank you so much. Is there any final words that you would like to impart on the beautiful widows that are listening to this version of the chapter 2 conversations? Any final thoughts that you want to leave with them?
Um, I guess what, because, I can imagine a lot of the widows are not sure, you know, um, whether or not they should, like how to do stuff. And I really can't imagine me today without this community, you know, and I'm just so glad that I decided to just take this chance, and just not think about you. No, I thought about it, but I'm glad that I did not let fear get in the way. Um, I just didn't let anything get in the way of what I needed to do for myself,
Yeah.
you know. Um, it's it really has been very I've just been so inspired since I've been, and I feel that yes, I'm gonna have my bad days. We all are,
Mhm.
but I know that with this community, I don't have to do it by myself. I
Amen.
don't
Yeah.
have to do this alone. Um, we'll always have our family and our close friends, but no one's ever going to understand what we go through as widows unless they're one too,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm.
Um, so that's where I see that, it was really important for me to do this for myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Frank, with us. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for just coming and being yourself, right? Vulnerability and everything. Because that's what our communities out there need to see is that we're, like you said, we're not going to be completely healed. We're not going to get it right all the time. But if you just show up for yourself and you allow support and the community to wrap their arms around you, there's so many possibilities. Like you said,
Mhm.
there's so many things that you're doing now that you didn't think that you could ever do. Right. And look at you
Mhm.
now.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you. Appreciate you so much. And yeah, continue to
Thank
keep,
you for the opportunity.
of course, of course. Are you kidding? The honor is all mine. The honor is all mine. And so yeah, we'll continue to watch your story unfold and just continue to be an inspiration to others, just as others have been an inspiration to you.
Yeah.
Thanks too.
Okay. You're welcome.